Now, let's talk about retribution, communism, the government, everything, the John Bolton raid. By the way, right when the John Bolton raid, the raid of John Bolton's home, right when that happened over the weekend, I went and did a 6-7 minute video on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. I do that from time to time. Go subscribe to that, at Jesse Kelly DC on YouTube. Go watch it, subscribe to it, enjoy yourself. It's free of charge, of course. Now let's discuss it. John Bolton did what? Well, he did what apparently every single person who works in the government does. He got sticky fingers with classified documents. Thought they were his personal possession. There's value there. Took them home. He's accused of sending them to people, emailing them to family, being, unbelievably careless with critically important pieces of information. Do keep in mind that foreign adversaries like China and many, many others have the ability to take anything from your email they want to take. So when you take classified documents and you're sending them from your Gmail account, you are exposing the United States of America to bad, bad, bad things. So let's talk about this. What did John Bolton have to say when Donald Trump's home was raided?
If he has anything like what the indictment alleges, and of course the government will have to prove it, then he has committed very serious crimes. This is a devastating indictment. I speak here as an alumnus of the Justice Department myself, because not only is it powerful, it's very narrowly tailored. They didn't throw everything up against the wall to see what would stick. This really is a rifle shot, and I think it should be the end of Donald Trump's political career.
Right? I mean, he practically had the vapors over there at the thought of Mar-a-Lago being raided, and now he wakes up and his home has federal agents inside of it. Federal agents walking out with boxes. And that brings me, of course, to what the reaction has been to this over and over and over and over again. If you've been watching the television over the weekend, you saw the left using words like retribution.
President Trump promised retribution against his political enemies, and there is no doubt that he is serious about keeping that promise.
I think this is clearly retribution. I mean, the idea that they just picked John Bolton, a prominent critic of the president, at random. What the president is trying to do here is very systemic and systematic, and that is anyone who stands up to the president, anyone who criticizes the president, anyone who says anything adverse to the president's interests gets the full weight of the federal government brought down on them.
Okay. So let's talk about retribution. What if it is? And obviously there's a part of that. What if it is retribution? Well, yeah, it should be. You see, what they did, what the communists have done with the government over the decades is they have conquered it. They took over all the agencies, they took over every part of it, and they've taken all those government guns that were supposed to be pointed outward, protecting us from foreign adversaries, and they slowly but surely did what they always do, and they took those guns and pointed them inward at their political opponents. Yeah, did you see J.D. Vance sit down with Kristen Welker? Look at this.
But you know, a lot of people have already looked at this and said, this looks a lot like retribution. Is this retribution?
Well, who has said it looks a lot like retribution? People who tried to throw Donald Trump in prison for completely fake charges that were later thrown out by multiple different courts. I suspect that if the media and the American people let this case actually unfold, if they let the investigation unfold as it's currently doing, they're going to find out that what we're doing is being very deliberate and being very driven by the national interest and by the law here, and that's as it should be.
Remember what they did to Donald Trump? But you know what? Set that aside. Set that aside. Set aside what they did to Donald Trump because that's well documented. You know about that. They tried to bankrupt him. They tried to throw him in prison in New York. They tried to throw him in prison in Georgia. Everyone seemed to forget about that. They had a special prosecutor. They tried to throw the Republican nominee in prison, in federal prison. They weren't going for fines. They weren't going for a slap on the wrist. They turned the FBI and CIA loose against their political opponent and tried to throw him in prison on ridiculous charges that to this day nobody can even lay out what he was accused of doing. I don't know. So they just made things up. But again, set aside Donald Trump. Let's talk about what the communists did to you when they got full power. They sent the FBI into your church. Here in the United States of America, the land of the free, we had FBI special agents in the parking lot of school board meetings, jotting down license plate numbers to open up domestic terrorist files on moms who were mad that their kids were being taught a bunch of gay stuff in schools. That's what the communists did. Mark Houck had ridiculous charges brought up against him and an FBI SWAT team sent to his door with guns pointed in his face, in his family's face, because the communists were angry that Roe versus Wade got overturned and they wanted to take it out on somebody. This is just a taste of what the communists did when they got power. Remember all those times they tried to call you a white supremacist?
According to the intelligence community, terrorism from white supremacy is the most lethal threat to the homeland today. Not ISIS, not Al-Qaeda, white supremacists.
In the FBI's view, the top domestic violent extremist threat comes from racially or ethnically motivated violent extremists, specifically those who advocated for the superiority of the white race.
A huge chunk of those domestic terrorism investigations involve racially motivated, violent extremist motivated terrorist attacks. And the majority of those, of the racially motivated, violent extremist attacks, are fueled by some kind of white supremacy.
Well, that didn't make sense, did it? Because you've never met a white supremacist in your life. So let me explain it to you. This was in an effort to classify their political opponents as terrorists so they could justify sending government guns against you. What happened during Joe Biden's 4 years was the most evil stuff the United States government has ever done because the communists conquered it and aimed all their guns at you, at me, at Donald Trump. Now, let's talk about something even worse. They're going to take power again. I don't think it's going to be soon. They've lost their minds right now. But you're not a baby. You're not a child. You know how it works. At some point in time, they will take power again. What is stopping them from doing all that again? What will stop them? Their morality? Don't make me laugh. The only chance we have at getting these people to back off and not do what they did before is making them afraid. The next time a communist puts in a communist FBI director and has a meeting with him and says, hey, I want these Republicans to go to prison, the only thing that might hold that next FBI director back is watching what happens now to the people who did it before. And him saying to himself, whoa, I mean, I'd love to, sir. I'd love to go arrest these Republicans, but I don't want to go to prison like the last guy did. Retribution? You bet it is. And it should be. Because when you are in a war for power, and we very much are in a war for power, you had better hit back and let the enemy know that it can come right back to him, so he better mind his P's and Q's. That's how wars are fought. All that may have made you uncomfortable, but I am right. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.